Right guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we've came to De Courcy's castle, and this could be found in Dundrum. Now, some of you know, I'm a stonemason by trade, and I like visiting places around Ireland and around the world. We're focusing on Ireland here just for the minute, but I like visiting places with sort of architect magic. Now, any builder or stonemason will be able to tell you it's very hard to do the job, even when you're just cladding. Sort of building stone on the front face of the block. The fact that they were able to do this years ago with the little technology they had and they just used manpower is absolutely phenomenal. Now it's a big long road to get up here, and you could imagine what this place would have looked like years and years ago. It would have been booming with life. They built their castles high. De Courcy had a castle in Dublin, and then during the Ulster invasion he built this one, and he built one in Carrickfergus. This was to protect the south of Ulster, and Carrickfergus to protect the north. So you could imagine what it would have looked like. You have the ocean down there, get access to the ocean. And past videos are talking about the Vikings, but this here is just magic now. Obviously, De Courcy was English. He was sent over by King Henry II, I believe. Don't quote me on historical facts, he's no better than me. And he had a rival feud with the Lacys, the De Lacys, I believe. Once again, don't quote me on historical facts, I'm not a professional. And that actually led to his demise to a certain degree, because King Henry, I think it was King Henry II, basically banished him. He spent a bit of time in prison, but before he done all that, he done all this. You had the monastery, you got the monks' monastery, Dundrum Castle, State Care Monument. You got a little picnic bench, and you've got a big moat that goes around this. Now the moat wasn't covered with water. It was just a battlefront. I'm going to show you this here, look. Look at that. Now, you aren't going to be able to get your perspectives here while I'm using this camera, but look at that. You have, well, back then, I don't know if the trees would have been there, but he would have had a 365-degree view of any enemies coming in, and there would have been fires lit accordingly the whole way down the roads if there was an enemy approaching. And that's just absolutely phenomenal. You can imagine the enemies coming into the bay there, and they would have been met with great hostilities. This is just the bottom of it. We'll go into the wee informational centre. We'll see what's in here. But before we get to the castle, that's the monks' monastery just below the castle. And Time Team done a piece up here, I believe. This looks quite interesting. Oh wow. A bit out of breath. A bit unfit. Dundrum Chronicles, Champions, Conflicts and Kings. Wow. And that's the way they would have looked years ago, guys, look. Ready for battle. Ireland is steeped in Middle Age, medieval, pre-Middle Age history, and pagan history, and pre-history. England and Ireland, the Celts, the Gauls. Activity sheets. You can take the kids up here and you can do a bit of learning too. The Brackrus feast. I think that's how you say that. And this is the story of Cuchulainn. Wow. Definitely come up here and visit. The way they lived back in the day was absolutely phenomenal. Now we're at the castle. Now, the work that would have been put in to do these castles is immense. Look at the thickness of the walls. Before we get to the castle, we'll have a look around the monastery at the bottom. Now, there's a bit of work, a bit of restoration work being done here, and it was tough for them to do it, guys. I watched them a little bit, and it was very tough for them to do it. Now, I do believe they put a bit of cement in with the mortar. Actually, they used cement and sand for the mortar, which I sort of disagree with because it can cause a swelling. You know, the reason why you use lime mortar is to have it breathable like a sponge. The moisture can get out. It gets in, but it gets out quite fast with an hour of sunshine, even in the winter, and it will evaporate. Look at this here. For an arch. Now, these arches are absolutely beautifully done. I do feel at some stage this will come down because it will become a hazard. As you can see, the bottom there, the stones are coming away. That's not a good sign. Now, I used to build lots of arches myself, and the whole point of an arch is to basically have a load-bearing weight on top of it. As you can see, there would have been more weight on top of that, and it was an old tool, not an old tool, but an old technique used to sort of have extra weight on top of things, and it looked nice because it was very decorative. As you can see, it goes up in 2 points, and the weight pushes down upon it. And actually, the heavier the weight, the stronger it is. The stronger it'll get. But yes, it's a beautiful arch. I love doing arch. You can get brick arches and all now, but the stone arches are just as nice, if not nicer. Now, I don't know if I'm assuming you can see the difference between the mortar. If you go up close, you see the mortar in between the stones. Now that would have been used lime and sand from the beach. Very coarse sand, lots of seashells in it and things like that. Now today's brickwork and building work is built with very fine sand. Very, very fine sand. But if you look up close here, you can see right in close to the joints there, you can see that the joint itself is just basically, it looks like stone, but that's because the water has eroded away the top layer. But it's beach sand and lime. And they would have had a lime pit near where they're building. So they would have, I do believe the lime pit's down here. Now the thing about this lime pit, when Time Team came up here to do their piece, they were looking for the lime pit. And at the time, I was working as a stonemason, and I said, well, didn't say it to them when I was visiting here. I said, well, the lime pit is going to be somewhere between the monastery and the castle, because then they'll have equal distance and multi-purpose building. Sorry if there's a bit of wind there. And here's the lime pit. Now they would have dug this lime pit. They filled it with lime and sand, beach sand, very, very coarse sand. And anybody that's ever built a house out of just lime mortar, I have with another fella. Whenever I finished my apprenticeship, I went on and worked for another fella, and my first project was building a house just out of pure lime mortar, no cavities in the wall, a breathable house like a sponge. Now, I do believe that was the lime pit. Let's have a look. Yep, the lime kiln, and that's where they would have made the lime. And it was multi-purpose building the monastery, and building the castle. Now, just to let you know, look how deep that is. They would have made the lime in that, and that would have been the mortar. They would have dug it out. There would have been probably about 10 people just for the lime. They would have been brought up there in buckets. And the amount of lime mortar used in these is immense. I built a house just out of lime mortar and stone, no cavities, perfect, still standing, and it'll stand for hundreds of years, way longer than your houses, folks, that you have built from bricks and cement. And the real work to these is the center of the wall itself, the structure, because the center takes fill and it needs to be interconnected and twined so it doesn't fall. And that takes a lot of work. And actually, a labourer, a stonemason's labourer, is worth his weight in gold because they actually do a lot of the work. Okay, it's not skilled work, but you're filling the middle of it, which is helping the builder get ahead of himself. Now let's take a trip over to the monastery. Now, this would have been built for the monks, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but I'm assuming this was for the monks and for people to come and pray. But that's the old way of doing things. Now, I have to admit, compared to other stonework that I would have seen, the French stonemasons coming over here in the Middle Ages to build and help, especially during the Renaissance, would have had a lot more skilled looking work. But this wasn't built for to look fancy. This was built for battle. And these here would have been formidable. If you had been an invader coming in, a Viking trying to take over, you would have been met with extreme hostilities, even from this alleged monastery. Now I want you to look at this. These short windows were used to fire arrows from. They're short this way, they're flared out this way, and they're short from the other side, so that it's harder for an archer to hit you if he's shooting from this way. And I'm assuming at one stage they would have been the same. I think they've been fixed up. You can see there's a bit of cement there, and that's probably just to let a bit of light through. Now you would come down here and you have, I think this is the bakery. I'm assuming this is where they would have done a lot of cooking. You've got like a chimney there, yeah, you can see up. You've got a chimney. And they would have cooked here and kept themselves warm here. Now, I would say, looking at the structure of this place, as a stonemason myself, this is quite unsafe, because the once thick walls are corroding back, and that's not a good thing. That wall could topple this way, and that'll not be good for anybody standing underneath. But even though it's not the best of work in regards to how it looks, it's very, very strong. Very, very strong. Now, the reason why I'm against putting cement near these is because if there's any moisture in the wall, you can see a bit of cement there, and that if there's any cement in the wall, if there's any moisture, in the center of the wall, it will create a pressure in between, which won't be able to release through the cement because it's a sealant, not a sponge like lime, and it will bubble out. It's a good short-term fix, but for the long term, say for the next 100 to 200 years, it's not a good short-term fix, in my opinion. If you're going to plaster an old stone house, do not plaster that with cement, because it won't be able to breathe. Now we're coming up to the main castle, and this is the castle grounds. And it's quite something else. 200-foot high centre castle with a perimeter. Now, the perimeter would have been formidable. The reason why they built it here, this is the upper ward. That's what it would have looked like back in the day. Now, the reason why they would build it here so high up, because you've got a 360 degree view of your surroundings. I don't think a lot of the trees would have been here, or if they were, then it was still safety. Down there, and later on in the video, I will show you the moat around this. This is basically on top of a hill. And it's quite high. And De Courcy would have stayed here in between his visits from Dublin to and Carrickfergus. This probably would have been a go-between. You can see how high that is. 200 foot high. And you can see the windows at the top. You can look up there. You can see the windows at the top, and they would have been used by archers and lookouts. Archers and lookouts. And as you can hear, right? I don't know if you can hear that. There's an echo. So it's like one massive microphone. So you don't even need to shout to be heard. As we go over to these windows around here, look. There is smaller windows to shoot out from. Boys would have been shooting from the top, maybe dropping oil, hot oil and tar, and people would have been shooting. So you got different angles. You got your angle here, and you've got your angle here. Then you've got all your angles around here. Now I don't know if they have been filled in, because I'm near enough sure every 5 meters they would have had one of them. They could have been filled in for whatever reason, safety reasons. And as you can see from the wall, the outer wall is coming apart. Now, looking at this wall, I think this wall, the crack, this would have been added at a later date for whatever reason, extra security or whatever. I wouldn't know. That's where my knowledge stops. But we didn't add it. It wasn't our recent history added that. They would have added that. A lot of stone and a lot of work went into this. As you can see, it's got the classic flared out there at the bottom. Load bearing weight. Straight up 200 foot, probably at one stage it would have been about 250 foot. And to breach this would have taken something else. You would have need to been a very skilled warrior to get into here. Now I'm standing right at the top where the archers would have shot from. Now apologies if you can't hear me because the wind. I'm going to stay this way so the wind doesn't hit me. But if you can see where I am, and I'm doing this for you, and I'm afraid of heights, I'm right up high. And this is where the archers would have shot from. I'll actually turn it around to show you. So here we are. We're up high, and just to let you know, I'm really, really scared of heights. You're going to hear a bit of wind here just in a minute. Oh, wow. Look at that. If I fall, it's your fault, guys. I don't know if you can see, but this is really high up. You're about 100 and maybe about 150 foot high. Oh, getting wheezy. And it's absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I could imagine being an archer. People are shooting at you. You're shooting at them. You're looking down upon them. Boom, boom. Oil's getting thrown on them. And you've got your sword out ready for battle and you're shooting at them. A lot of death would have happened around these grounds. Now we come to the moat. Now there's the castle up there. And this is the bottom of the hill. Now, for me personally, this was ingenious. Because obviously by that stage people would have had battle tactics. People have been fighting in battles for many centuries prior. But to actually put the work and effort in to building something so high up just to protect yourself back then was amazing. Now, a lot of death would have taken place. You get a lot of paranormal investigators. I done a bit of paranormal investigation myself. Whether you believe in that or not, I done it to see what was real or what was not real. I can safely say there's something. There definitely is something. But you get a lot of paranormal investigators down here because these trees and this woodland and the bottom of this castle, the moat, would have seen a lot of death because a lot of people would have been killed here trying to invade, and just people dying in general. Now, another little bit of history to this place is that people think that the fairies live here. And you got all these little things. Now, I'm going to take my son here during the summertime because that's beautiful. We'll have a picnic here. Definitely. But I need you to understand the sheer size of the hill. And that hill, that's where the castle is. I don't know if you can see the top. Well, there's the top of the monastery. But you can see the inner ward, as they call it. The top ward in there. And if we come around here, it changes. The feel changes because you get away from the noises of the cars around this side, and round the left hand side is just green fields. It's just all green fields. And yes, they've got the ferry. They've got the ferry thing nailed to the tree. So Ireland, even though it's a Christian country, it's rich in paganism. There we go. It's a bit dirty now. To believe that, so I suppose they do it for the kids too, but a lot of pagans believe that the fairies own the trees. I don't know if such things exist, but I'll leave that up to for yourselves to decide whether fairies exist or not. But these trees and the bottom of and this ground here, below the castle at the top of the hill, this area would have seen a lot of death. A lot of people would have been killed around here. And actually, unfortunately, on that note, this is a place that people go to de-life themselves. I'm going to use that term, but you know what I'm talking about, and they de-life themselves here. I've got my theories on that. I think death attracts death. Fortunately for myself, I do suffer. Everybody suffers from a tad bit of depression, but I've never been pushed to the brink of that. So obviously, if you're going through those things, seek help. Contact people. You're worth it. You should be on this earth. But this is a place that people would come to. But it's quite eerie, the feeling around here. It's very, very eerie. And I've done a paranormal investigation in my last channel, and we did get a bit of activity, but people were saying, look, you're using phone apps and things like that, which can't be credible evidence, and I get that and I accept that. But this is the bottom of the castle. And people would have invaded from this direction, they would have invaded from the other direction, they would have invaded from that direction. So that's why it needed to be high. So anybody coming up there were going to have a hard time getting to the castle, and by the time you got to the castle, you have all those windows with all those archers waiting with their oil, with their swords, with their weapons, and half your infantry would have been taken out. And I've never actually walked up that direction now, so I don't know what's in there. Maybe we should take a wee walk up. I'm in an adventurous mood, so let's see what's up here. Hopefully there's no serial killers living here. It looks like a bit of a tent. I'm so unfit, guys. I need to get my fitness back up. And doing this while holding a phone and a mic isn't the best thing either. You imagine running up this hill and you're met with a man with a sword, a bow and arrow. I think somebody was sleeping there. Looks like it. And you're met with a bow and arrow, a bow to the head, then hot tar thrown upon your face. How nice. Welcome to Ireland, they would have said. Well, the kings and the king, the men, the king put in place might not have said that, but it was a welcome, and I'm going to slip here. So forgive me if I slip, but that's how hard it was to get up here. And it would have been a lot steeper. Since then, this ground has all been flattened down a bit. There would have been, in my opinion, things and buildings around here, because the land's too flat for there not to be. The land is too flat. You would have to have something. It's quite an eerie feeling. It's nicer the way the trees grow. The trees grow that way. Because I don't know, it's the wind. I don't know why a tree would grow that way. I was thinking the wind, but it's naturally grew that way. And it's a tagged tree. You can see it's tagged. Probably don't understand why it's like that. And lovebirds have put their name on it. Very good. Leave the trees alone. Now, something nobody really speaks about is this. I've got my theories about this. There's a bit of a lake, sorry, a bit of a pond down here, if you can see. Now, I definitely think that would have been a natural watering hole for them. I think man-made for that, to fill up with water. I think at one stage there could have been a river running through here, and they used that as a collection point. Nobody's ever came up with that idea, but I think for definite fresh water, right beside the castle, makes sense, doesn't it? And you get all these weird. There's a couple of logs I should take home with me for the fire. But it's nice around this side. It's very, very calming. And you've got all this. I don't know if it's still there. No, they've ripped it off, but there was weird fungus growing up that tree. It looks like something's been at that tree. We don't get birds in Ireland, so I'm assuming. Look at that. Wow. Maybe the fairies are real. Look at the big hole in the tree. You could fit a human in that. There you go. If you're running from the cops, just hide in that tree. It's hollow. Wow. I'll remember that one. Let's see how hollow it is, actually. No, will I throw one in? No, I'll leave it. But Ireland is a beautiful place, folks. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And there's lots of these hidden gems. There you go, I was correct. There's a bit of a building there. You can see the stone, or that could be the stone pile that they used for building, because it's surrounding a tree. What did you say? Sorry, I don't speak bird. I don't speak bird, or I would understand what you're saying. Is that you there? Let me see you. Let's get a close up of you. He's sitting talking to me. What are you saying? Say it again. What? You're happy for the spring. Right? Okay. Told me he was happy for the spring. That's a little robin redbreast. And it has its natural barriers too, because look, there's a big stone hill there. So it had its natural barriers too. And I do believe that would have been a stone pile then. Because it looks like there's nothing built there, but that's the stone pile that would have been used to build the castle. And they would have had many stone piles, the natural stone from this ground. That's why I always tell people, if you're building stone around your house, don't go far afield for the stone, because it'll look out of place in your area. Because subconsciously your area has natural colours that you don't know. You can't see them, but they're in your subconscious. So if you get stone from, say, Kilkenny, and you build it in County Down, right, it will look out of place. Build stone and clad stone around your house, and build walls around your house of natural stone in your area. There is the famous Mourne Mountain stone walls with no mortar. It's a dry stone wall with big boulders, and there's one of them as you're going to Belfast, and they've paid for it, and it looks completely out of place. It doesn't look right because it's not supposed to be there. Stone is natural, and it fits into the natural surroundings of that individual habitat. You need to know that. That's why that castle doesn't look out of place, because it was built from the stone that's underneath it. That's it, folks. That's it for the little vlog series. That's De Courcy's castle. And remember, De Courcy had a couple of castles. He had one in Carrickfergus. I think he had one in Dublin too, don't quote me on that. And this is Dundrum in the north of Ireland, Northern Ireland, not the one in Dublin. And hope you enjoyed that, and if you like that, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share if you know anybody that likes this content, and leave a comment in the comment section and tell me what you think. And go follow me on the free speech platforms, X, Rumble. The links can be found in the description. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Now I've got a big hill to climb here. My battery's just about to die, or I would show you me panting running up the hill. But I'm going to be done after this one. So that's it, guys. Thanks very much for tuning in. Peace.